Hey guys, this is Mel. If you're listening to this, you are about to hear a super special sneak peek of our latest bonus episode, but fair warning, this is just a sneak peek, don't hurt us. It's totally optional to subscribe, but if you're interested, you can check out our Patreon by searching Significant Lovers Patreon online. Hope you enjoy.
Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your memory stray?
Whew, I guess we're getting back into Fleetwood Mac. Oh my god, I'm getting overwhelmed again.
What year are we time traveling back to?
So last episode we covered the 70s and the 80s, and today we're going to go from 1990 to present day.
Wow.
So we got a couple decades to cover, and to recap where we left off, Lindsey told the band that he was quitting. Stevie chased him outside and they physically fought. Then 2 years later, in 1990, Stevie left Fleetwood Mac too, and she quit. I didn't say this last episode, but I think she quit for a couple of reasons. One was she got in a big fight with Mick Fleetwood, who I'll refer to as just Fleetwood to avoid confusion, because there's John McVie. She got in a big fight with Fleetwood about the song Silver Springs because she wanted to put it on her Best Hits album. He wanted to put it on a Fleetwood Mac Best Hits album. There was like a whole thing, and she felt like it was her song, and he didn't even put it on Rumors anyway. So he also released that year a tell-all autobiography that really shared a lot of their dirty laundry. So I think she was just fed up with Fleetwood Mac and was a big star in her own right. So I think she just felt like she didn't need them. So she quit the band as well. And then we also talked about how she did a last performance and did Landslide, and Lindsey came up to join her, and they seemed like they were affectionate and happy again, even though they had fought a couple of years before. Yeah, so that's where I left off. In the 80s, I just want to kind of catch us up on like what's up with their relationships, because Lindsey and Stevie are not together at this point. They are always back and forth between hating each other and then being sort of sentimental, you know. Stevie, so she, in the late 80s, she dated the Eagles singer Joe Walsh for several years. She also dated Don Henley of the Eagles, so that's crazy. She dated two guys in the Eagles. And she... and dated two guys in Fleetwood Mac because she, had that fling with Fleetwood. And she's called Joe Walsh a great love. And then Lindsey Buckingham, he dated a woman named Carol Ann Harris for many years, I think like 7 years or something. So both Stevie and Lindsey now have had like other pretty long relationships that meant a lot to them. It's not like Stevie and Lindsey were each other's only relationship at this point. They've had other ones. And then after that, Stevie for a year dated a musician named Dave Stewart, and then she dated a producer named Rupert Hine for about a year or less. And then it seems like, so now in 1990, since then, it seems like she hasn't really had many long, serious relationships. So it's pretty interesting. So what would that be? She would be like 40, I guess she'd be like 40 in 1990. In 1992, Lindsey actually dated the actress Anne Hesh, who later dated Ellen DeGeneres, which is kind of interesting. Lindsey and Anne only dated for about a year. Okay, so that's just like some background about their other relationships that have been going on. Whew. Okay.
Take a breath.
I don't know that much about Anne Hesh, but I'm kind of interested in her.
Yeah, I would love to cover her and Ellen soon.
Yeah, and I know we still have to do Ellen and Portia as well. Somebody sent us a voice recording about them ages ago, and I feel so bad that we still haven't done anything with it, but I'm sure we will. Okay, so into the timeline. Now we're in the early 90s. In 1993, Fleetwood Mac was asked to perform at Bill Clinton's inauguration. But Stevie and Lindsey, weren't in the band, but they wanted them to be part of this. And Stevie, even though it seemed like they were on really rocky terms with each other, Stevie insisted that Lindsey had to return to be part of this performance, which I find interesting. And apparently Lindsey found it hard to say no, and so he agreed to do the performance. So they're back together. Seemed like it went okay. I don't think there was any major fighting or anything. they performed for Bill Clinton's inauguration. I think Michael Jackson was there too. But this was a rough time for Stevie. She had been struggling with a Klonopin addiction, which had gotten really bad. She was taking like 8 doses a day. And she was having trouble tapping into her creativity, and she apparently felt largely indifferent about most things. So this was just not a good time for her in the early 90s. In 1994, Stevie checked into a rehab facility, and some Fleetwood Mac fans on forums and such, for some reason, believe that Lindsey helped her get set up in rehab, but I'm not really sure how they know that. And I didn't really find any actual proof of that, so I don't know. That might be just wishful thinking, like fan fiction. I'm not sure. In 1994, see, this is why it's weird, because like the same year people are saying, oh, Lindsey helped her go to rehab. But then in 94, she was asked if Fleetwood Mac would ever reunite, and she said, maybe, but not with me or Christine or Lindsey. Christine and I will always be close. Lindsey just plain doesn't like me.
Wait,
So
what?
yeah.
Wait, she's like, but not with me. Like, so then it's not really a reunion.
I know.
Why no Christine? Is it because of her ex-husband also?
At this point, I think Christine had also left the band. So in Fleetwood Mac, people were just always coming and going, leaving, coming back. At this point in the early 90s, Fleetwood Mac actually had replaced Stevie with a young singer named Becca Bramlett. And they had other guys that replaced Lindsey. So it was like a very different Fleetwood Mac.
I guess Fleetwood Mac, I mean, Christine is gone, but it's back to Fleetwood and, what was the other guys?
John McVie.
John McVie, who are
Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac. So it is technically that band, but everybody, I guess, like Lindsey and Stevie were like the bigger names from it, even though they joined later, you know? So it's kind of ironic in that way.
It is, even though Lindsey and Stevie are so famous, it really is Mick Fleetwood and John McVie's band, which is weird.
They're like,
They're
is Fleetwood Mac gonna do a reunion? Meanwhile, they're still like going strong. Like they're still playing.
I know. This was a low time for Fleetwood Mac as well. They were like opening up for REO Speedwagon and, you know, just playing like kind of depressing shows compared to their heyday. And I didn't realize this. Like, I think for millennials and Gen Z, we think Fleetwood Mac is like so amazing and so cool. At least like my friends. But I guess in the I know anyone older listening might like laugh at me, but and maybe mom would disagree, I don't know, but I was reading that in the 90s and like early 2000s, maybe not early 2000s, but at least in the 90s, Fleetwood Mac was seen as like really not cool. All right, I will have to stop the episode right there. Thank you so much for listening to the teaser. If you want to hear the full episode and many other bonus episodes, you can find them on Patreon. You can search Significant Lovers on the website or download the Patreon app. It works a lot like regular podcast listening apps. And we have tons of other couples on Patreon to listen to. So thank you so much for listening and supporting the show, and we'll get back together next week.